perspective on NATO communication with the world?
Well, thank you for your interest, first of all. And I follow Ukrainian Army Info, of course, on social media. And thanks for the work you are doing to inform the world about Ukraine's sacred war and the fight and self-defense. As you know, allies fully support that and trying to make sure that the victory is there and as soon as possible. For NATO, the public diplomacy, answering your direct question, is indeed something that we have been doing for quite a while, and it includes various disciplines, actually. The public diplomacy division, I think, from big international organizations, NATO was the first to establish a public diplomacy unit. And currently it has developed into a full-fledged division with a lot of responsibility. So it's actually all strategic communications. That's what we do. So we do classic public diplomacy, meaning that we promote international debate on security, on NATO's role, working with think tanks, with universities, with youth groups, with partner countries such as Ukraine, but also others, to make sure that NATO's role and NATO's objectives and the work with partners is well known, understood, and also that our people in our countries support NATO, because, of course, that is very, very crucial. But also we make sure that other countries around the world understand what NATO is about, and the objectives are different. So altogether, again, using press and media for media engagements with the Secretary General, with other leaders, regular work with journalists, we make sure that there is a wide awareness of NATO. So that is one tool that we use. As I said, we support various conferences, discussions, but also we give grants. We give grants to NGOs or think tanks who want to organize discussions, but also a very targeted grants for building resilience to counter disinformation. And that is more sort of experimentational type of initiatives, gaming initiatives, training initiatives, journalists doing various work in finding what new approaches are there to counter disinformation. So a variety of tasks. What we also do, we do a lot of digital outreach to make sure that most of the world, of course, sees NATO through digital eyes. There is not going to be so many people who have met NATO in person. So, of course, our digital face is very important. And so, again, websites, social media, broadcasts, everything that we do, again, corresponds to the main objectives and tasks that NATO has. And those are three. One is, of course, collective defense. Second is managing crisis. And third is supporting partners working in cooperative security to make sure that security our joint security is strengthened. So, and again, all these initiatives support those three main tasks that NATO has.
How did COVID-19 change your public diplomacy?
We invested quite a lot in digital, much more. So we used the crisis as an opportunity, actually. The fact that, NATO was still meeting. We of course, had still our core tasks that were there. So we never stopped working in person. But it was indifferent for us. There was, shifts, and there was distant work, and there was distanced meetings, even classified meetings that were distant. So in that respect, the investment in strong digital communications, the best equipment, best technology, best people was crucial. So it actually helped us to reach a new stage in our digital communications. What it also meant was that we clearly saw that the armed forces in our countries were really helping our medical professionals and governments and the whole countries. So we told the stories about how our armed forces are helping to counter this horrible disease by providing military logistics assistance to hospitals, by building military hospitals, by logistics, by transport, military planes transporting patients, and so on and so forth. The same applied ally to ally. We saw that allies were helping each other. We saw that allies were helping partners. Partners were helping allies. So we communicated about that all, and we clearly saw that there was quite a lot of appreciation among the publics for the roles that the military does. So it's not only civilian supporting military, but also military supporting civilian part and medical part. So we told those stories about the heroism of our military colleagues, about the heroism of our doctors and populations.
What is the role of partner countries, especially in Ukraine, in the public diplomacy of NATO?
Well, as I said, one of the main tasks actually for NATO is to work with partners, and Ukraine has been one of the greatest partners and still is that we have. We already signed the Charter for Strengthened Partnership in '97, and right after actually NATO opened its information office in Ukraine. So it has been both cooperation on the ground in support of Ukrainian discussions, in support of Ukrainian initiatives, where we support, again, with grants, with participation, various organizations. We have brought in many, many visitors from Ukraine, more than 200 groups and, a variety of people to the NATO HQ to actually sort of more for in-person discussions, but also, again, for letting Ukraine to understand how NATO works. Because, again, in 2008, our leaders in Bucharest clearly said that one day Ukraine and Georgia will be NATO members. So that has been and still is. Our office in Kiev is active as we speak. We still provide a number of grants. We still discuss how to, again, counter disinformation. We learn from Ukrainian partners, but we also help to train people. And we have actually a strategic communications specific program to strengthen this capacity in Ukraine. We exchange information, and in that way, again, also showing how Ukraine self-defends, how Ukraine participates in NATO operations. It was before the war, and it will be again in the future after the victory is assured. So the whole complex of things with countries such as Ukraine. Again, each country is individual. Georgians do different things. So we have also a strong operational partner in Jordan. And again, Jordanian program is different. So each program is different. But we make sure that we respond to the interests of the partner, but in the same time also that NATO's own objectives and goals are properly represented.
How did social media transform the public diplomacy of NATO?
Yeah, that is, I think, one of the fields that has transformed most, and that was both also because of development of technology, first of all, and both in terms of as an opportunity for NATO, but also in terms of monitoring hostile information campaigns and what is happening, how NATO is attacked, and how the hostile actors, meaning Russia, China, Belarus, and sometimes Iran, are trying to run their operations. So we do two things. One is we make sure that we understand the information environment, so we invest quite a lot in proper understanding both of hostile informations, but also just disinformation, misinformation, and through that we are able to identify both the hostile actors, their narratives, and that gives us an opportunity to respond as necessary. And then the second part is we are actually proactively telling our stories, again, our objectives, what we do through social media. And we do that in a pretty comprehensive way. We have not only presence on most important social media channels through @NATO, but also we have our spokesperson, our Secretary General, and our NATO's office in Ukraine are on various social media channels. But we also constantly try to experiment in advance. So, for example, new types of videos. We just published, for example, a new first-time 3D animation on space. And of course, through social media, we are able to reach new audiences and new stories. We work with a number of influencers who are on platforms, on networks where we are not. For example, NATO currently is not on TikTok, But working with these young influencers from 7 countries, we are able to reach new audiences. So they are the ones who actually have a genuine interest in NATO. And they were ready to work with us to tell the story to their audiences. So they are on TikTok, they are on other platforms. And the way they work, the way they tell their stories is different from what we do. But it's very, very good. I actually enjoy watching the way how they interpret. And then, of course, we have the whole separate program, which is NATO по-русски, because, again, making sure that also those who only read Russian or who understand Russian and would like to understand something more factual about NATO have the ability to do that. So we also have Telegram channel in Russian, but we also have the whole spectrum of NATO по-русски. And then, of course, we do quite a lot of work in Ukrainian, because, again, after Russian attack on Ukraine in 2014, we really enhanced our Ukrainian language communications. And then sometimes we do also other languages. Of course, French is one of the official languages that is per se where we communicate, but also sometimes other languages that we use in our communications. We have offices in a variety of countries, not only in Ukraine, but also, for example, there is military liaison office in Serbia, there is NATO headquarters in Bosnia-Herzegovina, there is NATO office in Moldova, so they do work in their local languages mostly.
How does PDD engage and cooperate with contact point embassies?
Contact Point Embassies is a great network. It's a network of embassies in partner countries, so it's always in partner countries, by a particular country who is especially interested in doing public diplomacy. So, for example, in Ukraine, it's United Kingdom and Canada, who have worked for 2 years now there as Contact Point Embassy. And their mandate is doing public diplomacy together with us. And for us, it's wonderful because, of course, then we have people on the ground who know the country, who have resources, who are able to do work on behalf of other allies, they coordinate other allies. And it's just a sort of face on the ground and also the local knowledge and the ability to engage. And the ambassadors are great. We have them from New Zealand to Ukraine and also in Middle East and Northern Africa, even in Pakistan. And those are great ambassadors with great public diplomacy initiatives. So for us, it's a very important network and we are happy to work with them.
And my final question, what do you think about NAFO phenomenon?
The North Atlantic Fellows Organization. I think it's a great grassroots initiative, and I've been amazed about the work that they are doing, how able they are to identify disinformation, how solidary they are with each other, and I think it's exactly the work that we need to bring the awareness in our societies, the resilience, the understanding, and I think I just really support the work they do, and I'm very proud to have been awarded an avatar of my own.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the work you do.